5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And with that, welcome to your Media Mosh podcast. I am your host, Shane Beauregard, coming at you with all your news, reviews, and previews on what to watch on your streaming services, your television, and your local theater. I hope everyone's had a great week coming at you Sunday night, September the 1st, holiday weekend. Labor Day is tomorrow. I do have to work just a little bit, but just to point it out at the beginning of the show, bear with me, folks, because I am a little fucked. Yes, it's the holiday weekend. And I've had 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 drinks maybe, so you're in for a treat tonight. This is a little bit of a different show because I don't have a lot of reviews for you. I'll get to my main review in a little bit, which is the movie Climax. I'm going to take a deep dive in a little bit in the movie studio A24, and I'll break that down a little bit. And let's get into a little bit of news. What I wanted to touch upon last week, and I totally forgot, was Edward Norton's trailer for Motherless Brooklyn, and I'm a huge Ed Norton fan. And I know he's had his troubles in Hollywood. People think he's a dick, and he probably is a dick. But he is one of my favorite actors, and he's been just disappeared lately. But his new feature, which he wrote and directed, and it stars Bruce Willis, so hopefully maybe he can get Bruce Willis to act, who knows. You can watch that trailer right now. It comes out in November. Super excited, but unfortunately it's one of those trailers that gave way too much away. But I'm still looking forward to it. I have tempered expectations for that movie. We'll see, but go check that out. Eddie Murphy's hosting Saturday Night Live for the first time in 35 years, and we are getting a little bit of the Eddie Murphy renaissance right now. He's on his way back. He had that episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, and then he's shooting Coming to America 2, which I have no expectations for. Zero. Zero. Coming to America is probably, if I had to make a top 25, it's probably in my top 25 movies of all time. It is definitely my favorite Eddie Murphy movie. Just barely eking out 48 hours. And then he has the Dolomite movie on Netflix later this year. So we are going to get some more Eddie Murphy in the next year or two. Listen, I have no faith in Coming to America 2. Just to piggyback on that. It's anytime a sequel or a remake comes out 15 years. 15 years or later on a movie. Name me one movie, a sequel, made 15 years after the original movie that was any good. Exactly. I can't think of any. So I have no faith on this. A couple of other Netflix trailers I've seen this week is The King with Joel Edgerton and Timothy Chalamet. That looks really good. And The Laundromat with Gary Oldman, Meryl Streep, and Antonio Banderas. And it pretty much looks like a Big Short movie, another Big Short movie. Gary Oldman and Antonio Banderas play lawyers who scammed a bunch of people, and Meryl Streep is the one who broke the story and found them out. So go check that trailer out. The other trailer I'm confused about is Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I'm all in on this movie. I watched the Terminator franchise. I don't know why, folks. It is what it is. But I'm confused on Terminator Dark Fate. Because if this takes place directly after T2, if you've seen the new trailer, Sarah Connor tells Arnold's character like she's going to come back and kill him. But like in a malicious tone. So piggybacking off the second one, she knows he's on her side. So I don't get the vindictive tone in her voice when she's talking to him. So I don't know what to expect out of this movie. It comes out in November. I'm still on board. I'm curious, but yeah, I don't know. And then the big trailer that came out this week was the final Joker trailer, which, goddamn, you would have thought this is the best trailer ever made. Ever. Ever. People are raving about this trailer, and it does look okay. It looks okay. I'm not like gushing over it. You go to see this movie because of Joaquin Phoenix. If you're expecting to see Batman and all this DC tie-in, I think you're going to be disappointed. You go because of Joaquin Phoenix. My only reservations on this movie is Todd Phillips. I'm hit or miss with him, and mainly he comes from a comedic background, which is fine. He did a comedy drama with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill a couple years ago. I believe that was him, where they were the gun runners. I can't remember the name, but outside of that, Hangover was really good. I appreciated Road Trip, and you have Old School, but I'm holding my expectations back on the Joker. I really am. I don't know what to expect. And just a reminder, next week, September 6th, is season 2 of The Titans on the DC streaming service. That is what I'll be doing next weekend. I'm finally getting a weekend off with me and the VP. We're going to this little town in North Carolina called Little Switzerland. That is what I'm planning on doing, is getting through season 2 of The Titans. And yeah, if you're wondering, I would have sex with Barbara Eden. She just turned 88. I know that just came out of nowhere, but last week she turned 88. They're showing some clips of her on TV, and yeah, I think I would take a run at her, even though she's 88, which sparked me to my question, like, what is your upper age limit? Like, what is it? Do you have a cutoff? Now, understandably so. If you remove some clothing from Barbara Eden, it may be a disaster under there because she is 88. So at least check out the structure. Make sure she's structurally sound. I don't think I have an age limit. I don't. Go look her up if you don't believe me. Barbara Eden, happy 88th birthday to you. The other question I had, being that it's 2019, do people still use the phrase tomboy? Is that acceptable today? That's a serious question, because I was trying to explain my daughter to some people, and she does exhibit what we used to call back in the day some tomboy qualities, meaning she's very active, she likes sports. But I don't know if that term is still used. Also, is thrown like a girl, I know that's probably not used anymore, which I don't understand, because girls do have a very distinctive throwing motion if you're not athletic. So what are we supposed to substitute that with? Do you throw like an unathletic female? Is that what you're supposed to say today? I don't know. These are just thoughts rambling through my head, folks. Just let me know if tomboy's still in use, and what do we use other than thrown like a girl? Let me know. Yeah, that's all the news. That's all. No, I don't. I have more news. So, I didn't watch this because I didn't know this was a thing. But apparently MTV still has the VMAs on. Who fucking knew? Do they even show, like, where do people watch videos now? Let me know. Is it YouTube exclusively? Because every time I check MTV, it's How I Got Pregnant Season 6. Or, fucking Jersey Shore 15-year reunion. I don't know what I'm watching. So I never tune in, but they had Sebastian Maniscalco host the VMAs, which was an odd choice because he's 46. One, I'm pretty sure he has no idea who these fucking artists are. And he got slammed afterward because his opening monologue, he was bashing millennials. And that's what he does in his show. And the way he did it was pretty funny. So if you haven't seen this, go to YouTube and type in Sebastian Maniscalco VMAs. He pretty much was saying that if you don't like what you see on stage, MTV put on a safe room for you where you can go and you can have a blankie, and maybe Little Nas will have his horse and that'll give you comfort. And then he said, if it was up to me, I'd put you in a car and just send you home. And it's pretty funny. But he got bashed for it. So my thing to you is, fuck you, MTV, for even having this guy host. And people are like, oh, he's going to take a hit. No, he's going to use this for his new material for his next stand-up special. I guarantee it. I don't know what the fuck MTV's doing, and I can't believe the VMAs are still on. Now, that's all the news I have for you. Let's move on to the box office. Coming at number 5, Overcomer. Apparently everyone still loves Jesus. Second weekend release makes $5.7 million, bringing its grand total to $17 million in a 2-week period. Number 4 is Hobbs & Shaw, bringing in $6.2 million, limping to $157 million total during its 5-week release. Number 3, Lion King, bringing in $6.7 million, bringing its grand total to $520 over a 7-week release period. Number 2, Good Boys, bringing in $9.1 million, brings its grand total to $56 million on a $20 million budget. That's in its 3-week release period. And number one for 2 weeks in a row. I think this might be a first for Gerard Butler. It has to be a first. Well, maybe 300. I have to go back and look at that. Angel Has Fallen, bringing in $11 million, bringing its grand total during its 2-week run to $40 million on a $40 million budget. So that movie is going to make its money back. Gerard Butler. And if you actually paid attention to those totals, what a shitty weekend at the box office it was. When the number one movie during Labor Day weekend brings in $11 million. Fucking turds. Now, coming out next week, September the 6th, is It's All About It, Chapter 2. That is what is coming out next week. Here are the rest of the movies in September that I'm looking forward to. It's shaping up to be a little better than August, but not by much. You have the aforementioned It 2. You have the movie Freaks. The Day Shall Come with Anna Kendricks. Ad Astra with Tommy Lee Jones and Brad Pitt. And of course, you have fucking Rambo 5. I am so jacked for this movie. Rambo Home Alone is coming out the second week of September. Thumbs up to Sly. I'm all over this movie. It looks fucking great. In fact, the last Rambo, people slept on that movie. That movie is wildly entertaining. If anything, Sly knows how to cap his franchises. He capped Rocky Balboa very nicely, and I think he's going to do the same thing with Rambo. So, thumbs up, Sly. Since we are in the first week of Netflix, here are some notable Netflix movies coming out the first week of September. There are some bigger shows coming out at the end of the month, and I'll, of course, keep you posted on those. So right now you have the aforementioned, that's the word of the podcast, the Gerard Butler movie 300, the Christian Bale-led American Psycho, the very overrated movie Stripes, Superbad, Lord of the Rings, Parts 2 and 3, and the Val Kilmer, Elizabeth Shue, The Saint is out right now on Netflix. Later on during the month, you have Bill Burr's new stand-up, Paper Tiger, In the Shadows with Boyd Holbrook and Michael C. Hall, and the Gwyneth Paltrow-led The Politician. And I'll keep you informed on those shows as we go on. My Amazon Prime picks of the week. Right now you have The Lincoln Lawyer, the very under-the-radar Matthew McConaughey, Marissa Tomei, William C. Macy movie. And you also have Carnival Row with the eyebrow chick from Suicide Squad and Orlando Bloom, which I've seen 2 episodes and it's meh. The world it's set in is great, but story-wise, it's really not hitting me right now. So let's move on to what I've watched this week, which again was not a ton. I watched the new Dave Chappelle stand-up special, Sticks and Stones, and I loved it. In fact, I think this is the best Dave Chappelle on Netflix right now. And he's getting a rash of shit from this too, because he tackles a lot of topics in this one. He tackles the Me Too movement, the LBGTQ10 movement, whatever, there's too many letters in there. And I thought he did it though in a very, I don't want to say thoughtful, but in his own way that doesn't really go aggressively at these topics. But he makes common sense with some of it. And yeah, I get it. Some of it is dated. The way he thinks is 1996. But overall, I thought it was really solid. And it just made me think like it's hard. It is hard to be a stand-up comic these days because there's not a whole lot you can fucking talk about without someone being fucking pissed off. So, you know, if you're going to be triggered, which I hate using that word, don't go see stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is lost on the majority of millennials. I'm sorry. It just is. Because it's a fucking joke. Just irritating. But if you want a good time, go check out his latest stand-up special. It's on Netflix right now. Sticks and Stones. And the movie I watched this week is Climax. I don't know how to describe this film. Experimental film, let's say. You can find this on Amazon Prime, and it stars Sofia Boutella, who I really like. She was in The Kingsman, Atomic Blonde. She was really good in that. And this movie is about a bunch of dancers who get selected to go on some tour, and they're in this abandoned warehouse rehearsing. This movie was hard for me to get through. This movie is not for everybody. So let me just set this up. At the beginning of the movie, you see someone in the snow dying, and then the credits roll. And then you get to see all these audition tapes from these dancers, and they're answering all these questions. and then it zooms in on the studio or warehouse, and there's like a 15-minute dance montage. So you have to get through that. And then after those 15 minutes, you get random conversations by people in the party going on in different sections of this studio. And it's all the conversations have to do with sex and drugs and just crazy shit. And then at the 46-minute mark, this is where this movie takes a turn. So apparently, there is a person, ex-dancer, who was pregnant, had a kid, and his name is Tito. She made sangria for everybody. So everyone's drinking this sangria bowl except for two people. And someone along the way laced it with LSD. So at the 46-minute mark, the LSD kicks in, and these people start flipping their shit. And this is why it's so hard to watch. There is not one likable fucking character in this movie. So once the LSD kicks in, they accuse the one guy who doesn't drink the sangria of spiking it, and they throw him out the fucking building. And then what you have in this movie is you have someone get set on fire. You have a female who's pregnant who punches her own stomach and aborts her own baby. You have a kid that ends up electrocuting himself. You have incest. You have murder. You have fucking craziness. That's all going on. All these people turn on each other in the most horrible ways. I don't know what message this director was trying to set with his movie, because as everyone's tripping on LSD and the girl sets herself on fire and this kid gets electrocuted, they put up this big panel and it says, "Life is a collective impossibility." Now, what the fuck does that mean? They go more into a descent towards wherever, and the last 10 minutes of this movie was almost impossible to watch because the director inverts the camera so you have an upside down view of everybody. The whole room is red, so you have a hard time what's going on here. I'm imagining that's their descent to hell. That's the only thing I could piece together. And then before it ends, there's another card that comes up on the screen. It says, "Death is an extraordinary experience." So by the end of this film, you have everyone passed out, there's people dead, and police end up coming into the studio and examining whoever's passed out on the floor. Sofia Boutella's character, and she made a great performance. I believe all these actors in here, all these people in this movie, they were all actual dancers except for Sofia Boutella. She did a great performance, but I forgot where she ended up in this movie. I really did. This movie was so fucking weird, but it hooked me in because I kept thinking, who did punch a sangria? Like, what was their purpose? Like, who hired these kids? Like, what were they doing? At the end of the movie, you find out it's just some random dancer who decided to spike the sangria bowl with LSD. Yeah, this movie was... it had some great shots, because some of the tracking shots in this movie were fantastic. The lighting, the directing was really good, except for the last 10 minutes. And it keeps you intrigued, but it's such a vile, disgusting film. I wanted to take a shower after I saw this movie. So I don't get why it's everyone's top 10. It's unique, it's different, I get it. I dug a little deeper, and apparently this film was shot in 14 days, and there's no script. So apparently every dancer like ad-libbed their dialogue, and the director would give them some kind of like push into where to go, which is kind of cool. But yeah, this movie was hard, especially when the kid fucking, we're talking about like a 6-year-old fucking kid. Like halfway through the movie, you find out he's drinking from that sangria bowl. His mom brings him to some electrical room to keep him safe, and he ends up fucking electrocuting himself. And the response from the crowd is, "Oh, Tito fried himself. He's dead." And they're all dancing. It's fucking frustrating. So this movie's not in my top 10, obviously, because it's so dirty of a film. I give Climax a 2.0 out of 5, solely based on Sofia Boutella's performance and some of the directing shots and cinematography in this movie. And it is made by A24, which leads me into that studio. Now, again, this is a little different because I was sitting here thinking, some of the worst movies I've ever seen has been made by A24. And as soon as I see that logo flash up at the beginning of the movie, I have no idea what I'm in for. But after doing a deeper dive, I gotta admit, they made me a liar because I like way more stuff they put out than I hate. And just to give you a little deeper dive into A24, it's a fairly new independent film company. Was founded in 2012. And yes, I know what you're going to say. Every movie studio has their stinkers. But this is a very niche film studio, I feel like. They only produce like lower budget independent films. So yes, I decided to take a little deeper dive in this studio. Their first movie was the 2013 A Glimpse Inside the Mind of Charles Swan III, which was a Charlie Sheen project, believe it or not. And they just kept rolling from there. So I'm going to give you my best and worst from this studio, because the worst, again, sticks out so much more than the best. But other notables, here is what didn't make my list. Now, these are my favorites. I'm going to make that distinction. These are my favorite films, not the best films, because I realize there's films I'm going to rattle off that were awesome and really great, but didn't make my favorite list. Here are some noticeable movies that you may know of, and a lot of them are Oscar nominated, even Oscar won movies. And I'm going to start you off with Hot Summer Night, the 2016 Timothy Chalamet movie. That's sneaky good. Free Fire, which was a disappointment, with Armie Hammer and Brie Larson. You have Slice, that came out in 2017 with Zazie Beetz and Chance the Rapper. You have the Oscar Best Movie of the Year, Moonlight, 2016. You have Lady Bird in 2017 with Saoirse Ronan. You have American Honey, 2016 with Shia LaBeouf. And you have the William Dafoe Oscar-nominated movie, The Florida Project, 2017. You have the very underrated movie, Good Time, with Robert Pattinson, that came out in 2017. And you have Room, with Brie Larson, that came out in 2015. So those are their notable movies. Here is my best of A24. Let's start you off with the 2015 film Slow West with Michael Fassbender, and that's a Western, and it is a very slow burn, but it's a very good movie. Next on the list, you have the 2018 movie 8th Grade, the directorial debut of Bo Burnham. Then you have the 2016 release The Lobster with Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz. I shouldn't have to say any more. Number 7 is the 2014 Glock with Tom Hardy, and it's all about Tom Hardy driving home in his car. That's the entire movie. Tom Hardy in his car, and he fucking nails it. Number 6, you have the Patrick Stewart, Anton Yelchin 2016 film Green Room, about a band that plays their music in a white supremacist facility and gets trapped inside and has to fight their way out. Number 5 is the Andrew Garfield 2019 release Under the Silver Lake, which I just recently watched this film. Number 4, you have the James Franco movie 2017 The Disaster Artist. Number 3, the 2018 released Mid-90s, the skateboarding movie directed by Jonah Hill, which I really loved. Number 2, the 2017 Joel Edgerton movie, It Comes at Night. This is a very divisive movie because it was billed as a horror movie, and it was very slow moving, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And number 1, the Oscar Isaac 2015 release Ex Machina, which you can check out on Netflix right now. Though, to me, those are my favorite A24 films. And let's move on to my worst. Coming at number 10, you have the Ryan Reynolds led 2014 release The Captive, where he is I forgot what he does in that movie, but he stops into a restaurant and his daughter gets kidnapped and he's trying to track down what happened to his daughter. So uneven of a movie. Also stars Rosario Dawson. Number 9 is the Scarlett Johansson film Under the Skin, 2014, where she plays an alien that comes down to Earth and is trying to observe human behavior. And that movie is a total fucking disaster. God damn, that movie sucked. Number 8, the Daniel Radcliffe-led 2016 movie Swiss Army Man. Number 7, you have the Kevin Smith, and I hate to put Kevin Smith on any list of the worst, but Tusk, the movie where he transforms a human to a fucking live walrus. Number 6, the 2018 movie Hereditary, I'm moving on because I've already bashed that movie enough. Number 5, the Colin Farrell, Nicole Kidman led 2017 The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Now, that movie kind of had me, but as it rolled on, the ending was so disturbing and so fucked up that it just ruined it for me. Again, you can check this out on Amazon Prime. Number 4 is just what I reviewed, the 2019 movie Climax. I can't get that out of my head. Number 2, The Black Coat's Daughter, 2017, with Emma Roberts and Kernan Shepka, the lead from Sabrina the Teenage Witch on Netflix. That movie had me totally confused. I had no idea what happened in that fucking movie. I had to actually go to the internet when that movie was over to find out what the fuck happened. You have this female, they're at a boarding school during vacation or winter break, so there's only a few students at the school, and one of the students murders somebody else. And at the same time, you have Emma Roberts' character getting out of some hospital, going back to the school. I didn't piece it together at all, ever, until I actually had to do internet research. This film was so slow. So slow. And it just, the payoff wasn't there. It was just terrible. But number 1 for me was the 2016 release, The Witch, with Anya Taylor-Joy. If you see the trailer, you're thinking you're going to get a good old horror film. No. This movie, again, was another movie that was so drawn out and so slow, and the payoff wasn't there. In fact, there were witches there, and I can't get into this movie. I just wish they would have went with the incest vibe they gave you in the first 10 minutes of this film, where the brother was kind of lusting after the sister. I wish they would have went in that direction because it would have been made for a better movie. This movie was absolutely fucking terrible. And again, it's like one of those movies that is like 90% of Rotten Tomato. I don't get it. I just don't get it. But you know what? Coming off my best of list here, a lot of people peg me for certain types of movies. Yeah, I do. I do like certain type of... I do have a genre that I definitely drift to, but I do like the slow burn shows. I do like slow burn movies if they're done the right way, a la It Comes at Night and Ex Machina. Not the most action-packed movies. Not the movies that kind of speed along. These movies kind of drag on. But, to me, they have a payoff, and they're well done. The Witch was so misleading, I can't get over it. But, all in all, A24, you prove me wrong. You do way more good than you do bad. But your bad is really bad. That's all I'll say. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this little different episode. And honestly, I didn't write down what's available on Amazon Prime for these A24 shows, but the majority of them are on Amazon Prime. So go check that studio out. You'll find a lot of movies that you like. I'll come at you next week with my It Chapter 2 review and probably do a show with my VP since we'll be together next weekend. Listen, enjoy your Labor Day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Go check me out on Facebook, Media Mosh. Go check me out on the Twitterverse, Shane at Media Mosh. And then circle back and go check out the great Arguing Myself, Mr. Chris Rodell, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. 3 platforms for 3 different types of content. Until then, get caught up. Get caught up in the mosh.